Hi, so sorry. I just realised, I knew it'd be a long story. I just realised I was coming to the end of how much I can record on my phone. So I thought we'll cut it there before it just cuts off mid-sentence. So Gertrude had said, like I say, you've branded my girls, now I'm going to brand you. And there's a neighbourhood lad by the name of Richard Hobbs. Richie Hobbs, I think it's Richie Hobbs, they called him. And he's 14. And he'd seen what had been going on. Now, he had a soft spot for Sylvia originally. But again, through the manipulation of Gertrude and Paula and Stephanie, he as well turned, because he felt she's giving it up to everyone. She doesn't want to know him, which wasn't the case. She didn't like anyone. And Gertrude, it said that to get him on side and to get him involved in the fun they were having with Sylvia, she was actually doing sexual favours for Richard. He was 14 years old. Now, I've heard this on a couple of platforms, so I don't know if it's 100%, so don't quote me on it. But it makes sense. So she basically gets Richard and I think John, her own son, to pin Sylvia down. And she gets Shirley, her other daughter, to light a pin, like a bobby pin. We call it a safety pin. And she writes, "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," across Sylvia's abdomen. And then she starts to burn it into her skin. Now, she manages the I, she manages the M. She can't manage anymore. She goes to Richard, "You carry on." So he does, and he brands Sylvia. His girl that he liked. It just shows manipulation, what it can turn, and he was 14, so he does, and he says, "You're our slave now." So a slave should have an S as well. So he etches in the S, and then he goes to brand it into her. Now he does the bottom bit, and it goes. Some say that it came over in "What am I doing?" I don't know what truth there is in that, but he tries to get Jenny to finish it. Jenny's watching this, by the way. Jenny, her sister, is watching this happen. She's obviously screaming. Now, by this point, obviously she's been malnutrition, she's dehydrated, her throat is starting to close, but it said that the burn, she could disassociate from all the beating, but the burning was something that could always get her to scream. So when he tries to get Jenny to finish off the S, she obviously says no. I think it's Shirley, not Marie. Shirley, he gets to do it. But Shirley, she's only 10, but she, rather than doing an S, she does it this way, like a backwards S, and it looks like a 3. So Sylvia's got a 3, and then "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," branded into her abdomen. Now, Jenny goes, when everyone's gone, she goes to see Sylvia down in the basement. And Sylvia actually says to Jenny, "I know you don't want me to die, but I'm going to die. I can feel it." And Jenny, as upset as she was, knew that this was true. She could see what was going on. Now, on October the 25th, they bring Sylvia up from the basement and sit her down. They give her a bath. They give her a nice warm soapy bath, so it doesn't. She was expecting it to be this, this real hot that she was used to, but it was a warm, soapy bath, and put her in nice, clean clothes, bring her downstairs and sit her at the kitchen table to write a letter to her parents. And basically the letter says, you know, I've run away with some lads. They wanted to do stuff and I gave it to them. And from that, they branded me, they beat me. I've basically caused nothing but trouble for Gertrude and her children. You know, I've charged her doctor's bills that she couldn't afford. You know, I've wet the beds, I've ruined bed. Just basically everything that had been done to her, but saying that some random lads had done it. Now, while she was sat there, after she'd wrote this letter, as she was sat there, now don't forget, Sylvia she's not fully there anymore. She's losing a lot of, there's an internal infection going on within Sylvia at the moment. And because of the malnutrition, dehydration, beatings and everything else, her body wasn't fighting the infection. Like, the burns on her body weren't healing. Her body couldn't heal itself. So she was kind of in and out. But she heard Gertrude and John, and I think it was Coy Hubbard, talking about a plan they had for her. And what they were going to do is basically drop her off in a wooded area. It was a forest nearby, and just leave her there to die. And when the police came, Gertrude would be ready to hand over the letter. I think she thought because her ex-husband was a policeman, that would cover her. Not the brightest spark. And there we go. Job done. Brilliant. Great plan. But in between coming in and out of kind of, not consciousness, but being aware of what was going on around her, Sylvia heard it and she made a dash for the door. But her dash just wasn't a dash. She was too weak. And Gertrude, who we know was bones and not really strong herself, managed to catch up with her no problem and drag her back and throw her down into the basement. So it was a one chance at getting away. Now, late on October the 25th, later on the evening, Gertrude tried to get her to eat some toast. And because her throat was basically closing, it was closing up. She couldn't swallow it. Not to mention that it was stale and burnt. And because she couldn't swallow it and she actually tries to say, I can't eat it, Gertrude gets a kitchen rod and tries to hammer the toast down her throat. Coy Hubbard, who's also there, when Gertrude does this, he takes the curtain rod and just starts beating her because she couldn't eat the toast. This was up in the kitchen. They throw her back down into the basement. And I say, they're not bringing her down to the basement. They're throwing her down these stairs. They go down. They follow her down the stairs. They beat her until she's unconscious and then leave her down there. She wakes up and looks around, and it said that she found like a spade down there, to where she bangs the floor. I don't know why she couldn't have done it when she was stronger, but she bangs the floor till 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, we know it was till 3 o'clock in the morning because one of the neighbours, because there are neighbours around when all of this is going on. You know, there are people who live, they don't live in the desert, they don't live in the middle of nowhere. There are neighbours who are aware of what's going on, just don't want to get involved. They hear this banging and the neighbour says that she was going to phone the police, but it abruptly stopped at 3 o'clock in the morning, which would have been the 26th of October. By the morning, Sylvia, no, she couldn't speak properly. She was completely delusion. Is it delusional? Where nothing, she's not making sense. which they don't like that. The beat her for that. So she makes one more try to escape, and she tries to get up the basement stairs, and she's so weak she doesn't even make it to the top. Gertrude finds her halfway up these stairs, kind of collapsed, and thinks, I know what I'll do, and she stamps on her head. Now, there's numerous sources that say she stamped a few times. There's some that says she stamped once. It doesn't matter. That's what she did. And then kicked her back down the stairs. And at 5:30 p.m, Sylvia Marie Likens died in the basement of the Banaszewski home. Upon finding her, Stephanie and I think it's Richie Hobbs take her and throw her in the bath, thinking that'll wake her up. She just sinks to the bottom. That's when they realise, oh. So then they start performing CPR on her and, trying to bring her round. She's been gone for a long time. And Gertrude comes up with a plan. She'd bring her back down to the basement, put her on a mattress. So they put a mattress down there. Something I don't think was down there the whole time. I think she was just sleeping on the floor. Put her on a mattress, and we'll say that here's the note I've got saying it was these boys that did it, and we'll say she just turned up looking like this. So they phone the police. Well, Richie Hobbs goes out and phones the police, and the police come. And that's what they all go along with at first, including Jenny, her sister. But when she gets out of earshot of Gertrude and any of the kids, she kind of whispers to the policeman, she said, get me out of here and I'll tell you everything. Why couldn't she have done that months before? I mean, this is 3 months. 3 months. I mean, the beating of Sylvia started, after a couple of weeks, and the torture started within the month. She could have phoned the police. She was going to school, Jenny was. She was going out to play. She didn't have a great time there, but I don't think any of the kids had a great time there. I think they were all just relieved it wasn't them. But yeah, she says, get me out of here and I'll tell you everything. And she does. And they bring her down to the police station, and they just say to Gertrude, we've got to bring everyone in. There's a dead body in the house. We have to bring everyone in. And when Jenny tells them, that's it, they charge. And I'll tell you who they charge. They charge Gertrude, Paula, John, Richard, and Coy with Sylvia's murder. Now Stephanie, are very mixed reviews about Stephanie. Some try to say that she would try and defend Sylvia. Some would say she was just as bad. Very hard to know, but she turned state's evidence, and the reason we have all these intricate details of what went on day by day in that house is mainly down to Stephanie and also little Marie. Now, Marie, when she was on the stand, because Gertrude, Paula, John, Richard and Coy were all tried together. There wasn't different cases, different trials. They were all tried together. And when Marie was on the stand, she repeated what her mum had said. Sylvia was a troublemaker, and she ran away, and then she came back with all these injuries, etc. But under cross-examination, which you think about it, of an 11-year-old girl, she didn't stand up to that at all. And she folded straight away, and she said everything. She told the truth. And obviously her mum was like oh God, you know, but that's what she did. She told the truth. And so we have Gertrude Banaszewski was sentenced to life in prison. Paula, who remember I said was pregnant, on the first day of the trial, she had to actually leave to go to hospital to have her baby. You know, what Sylvia was accused of the whole time was actually Paula. A baby that she called Gertrude. How sweet. Now, it is said that this baby was adopted. I don't know any more details. Obviously, that would have all been, you know, sealed and everything else. But she did adopt. It was a little girl called Gertrude. Now, Gertrude, like I say, she got life. Paula, 7 years. This is what they did. This is the time that they did. This is one thing I do like, that it is such an old story that I can literally tell you to conclusion. So Gertrude got life, but she'd done 20 years. I'll tell you more about that in a second. Paula, 7 years. Stephanie, obviously turned state evidence. John, done 2 years. Richard Hobbs, 2 years. Coy Hubbard, 2 years. Okay. Now, Gertrude, who only done 20 years, to uproar within the town that they lived in Indianapolis. There was petitions against her parole. I think they got something like 4,500 people to sign against her being paroled. But because she'd been a model prisoner and known to some prisoners as Mom, she was released in 1985. She went to live with Paula. Sweet. But died horrifically of lung cancer in 1990, aged 61. Paula. Now, Paula changed her name to Paula Pace. Obviously wanted to get away from the Banaszewski name. But in 2012, her job found out her history of what she'd been found guilty of and sacked her. The job she was doing was a teacher's assistant. That she'd been doing for 14 years. Marvellous. Stephanie also got a new name. We don't know her new name. He's also a school teacher, apparently living somewhere in Florida. Marvellous. John Banaszewski. Now, he only did 2 years, like I say. He found religion when he came out. He was the only one that said that... Now, don't forget, John was only 12, but he was supposed to have been one of the most brutal out of them all. And he said that he thought they all should have got longer. He died of diabetes, aged 52 in 2005. Richard Hobbs, he got 2 years, like I say. He died a very painful death, same as Gertrude. He died of lung cancer, aged 21, very young, in 1972. Coy Hubbard did 2 years. Now, he stayed where he lived, didn't even try to change his name, very cocky to the end. Was actually tried for double murder, where the charges got thrown out for some reason. It was a burglary gone wrong. He died of a heart attack in 2007, age 56, just after the American Crime film came out. I think he got fired from his job when that film came out as well. Now, Jenny, Sylvia's sister, never got over it, as you can imagine. She died of a heart attack, age 54, in 2004. Betty and Lester, her mum and dad, mum died in 1998 and her dad died in 2013. And the house that obviously was where everything happened, 3850 East New York Street in Indianapolis, was actually demolished in 2009. Diana, the girl's older sister, is still alive. Very weird case with her. A couple of years ago, her and her husband, I think they broke down in the desert, or they got lost in the desert or something. Her husband died, but she managed to live for 2 weeks in the desert before she was found, and she's alive. Just all of them have had a horrific life since Sylvia died. All of them. And I don't know how to feel about it. It's really hard to explain. I mean, Paula's still alive. As far as I know, I've looked into, there has been stories that she died in 2012 and 2013. What I've looked up says that's a hoax. I know she is still alive, but I definitely know Stephanie's still alive and her sister Diana's still alive. But everyone else related to this story, I mean, Gertrude, I mean, she'd be nearly 100 by now, so that's, you would expect, but the rest, it's just so strange. Now, online, obviously, there are the 2 films that I've discussed, and there's also, in An American Crime, they make it look like it's quite a small house that they all live in. It's not. It was quite a big house, and some people, before it was demolished, actually, obviously, you know, these, not ghost hunters and stuff, but they went to the property and managed to get in through a hole into the basement, and oh God, it's just a horrific looking basement. I mean, in the film it makes it look quite this is what I mean, Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door is probably more on track with, I mean, even that house is quite nice. American Crime, it's not too bad. It was filthy, it was disgusting, and the basement, just awful, and you just see the step. And they go around the house, much bigger than they show in either film. You know, much more different rooms than was shown in the films as well. You know, they tried to say that Sylvia's ghost's up in one of the windows and stuff. But, you know, I don't know how you are on, you know, the paranormal, but I'm not getting into that side. But it was just very eerie to watch the video after knowing everything that happened of the house. I think it's a really good thing that it's been demolished. I don't think there was anything else that could be done with it, knowing what happened to her. You know, it's 3 months of just hell for a young girl with everything to live for. And I've just, this is honestly the longest story I've done since I started my channel. And I still haven't been able to include everything that happened. Like I say, there's so much online on this. I mean, it was 56 years ago this year. You know, so there's so much detail about it online if you do want to have a look. But thank you so much for joining me. And if you've stuck with me for the whole time, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's just such an awful story, but I did want to do it for you. Obviously, if there's anything I've missed out, anything I've got wrong, let me know. But like I said, to include everything, I'd have to be sat here talking to you for like 6 hours. So just thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Take care.